Hello! Big news from our friends over at Distrokid. They now have an app. This app works on iOS and Android, of course, and it's available in the Apple Store and Google Play stores and all the stores where you buy apps. Go check it out. It's got a lot of cool features. You can upload new releases, you can get notified when you've earned royalties, awesome. You can withdraw from the app via push notifications, a little dangerous for me, but rad. Anyways, go check it out. It's all at distrokid.com/app. And don't forget, you can still get 30% off your Distrokid account by going to distrokid.com/VIP/tour stories. Have a great one. Hello, everyone. Izotope's RX-11 has hit the streets. RX is the industry trailblazer for audio repair and enhancement. Powered by machine learning technology, RX's comprehensive suite of tools tackles everything from common audio problems to the trickiest of sonic rescues for music, audio post-production, podcast production, and content creation. Go to izotope.com and receive your 10% discount on all their software using code FRET10. That's FRET10, all at izotope.com. Hey everyone, fantastic news. Ruinous Media welcomes our newest podcasters, Bothering the Band. Bothering the Band is a fun, unique podcast in which our homies Ryan and Abby ask their favorite famous musicians super silly, thought-provoking questions to see what really makes them tick. They don't care about their struggles or inspiration or process. They'd rather find out what they ate for breakfast, if they've ever seen a ghost, or how they put their shoes on, if they even wear shoes. Plus many more hilarious and insightful inquisitions. They've gotten to talk to blue-collar punk bands from Germany, Grammy-nominated folk bands, rising reggae superstars, and even a Cold War kid or two. Check out Bothering the Band wherever you get your podcasts. And a warm welcome to Ryan and Abby and Bothering the Band. Check it out.
Sameer. Hello.
Hey, Joe. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm going to try and actually connect this to something really quick. 1 second.
Okay. I don't know if you can hear me, but can you hear me?
Hey! Sameer Ghadhia is the singer and a founding member of the band Young the Giant. I got to know Sameer on a long and wonderful U.S. tour when Cold War Kids opened for Young the Giant. I resurrected this phone recording from about 6 years ago. Please enjoy. From Ruinous Media, this is Tour Stories.
Okay. Young the Giant in Italy. In what year, you think?
Year was 2011, and we had just, spent a year and a half touring in the States for our first record. As these things often happen, as I'm sure you probably know, it's like you can never really account for when things just happen. And so we'd spent like a year and a half already touring, and all of a sudden the record started really working in the States. And so we essentially like restarted our whole touring cycle. And it was just extremely bizarre set of another year and a half. And I still think that, some of the craziest stories are from, that first record when, we're like the shiny new penny or whatever. One of our weirdest little jaunts was in Italy. So, Cough Syrup was a, relatively large alternative single in America. And had, afforded us the ability to tour and continue our careers there as an alternative rock band. But in Italy, it was completely different. Italy only has like 2 or 3 stations around the country, and if you're played on one of those stations, you automatically have a big song. And so, Cough Syrup was played in Italy, and over the course of about 2 months, became the #1 pop single in Italy. We played this big festival called Prima di Maggio Festival, and it was on Labor Day in Rome. And it was in this big piazza, and I think to this day is still the biggest show we've ever played, although it wasn't necessarily for us, which we obviously knew, but I think only found out the absolute extent of that, after we played the show. We played to, I think, about 500,000 people, 500,000 people or so. And it was a really, really weird festival because there were revolving stages of a bunch of artists. And so every artist had to play 3 songs, 2 of which were, your own material, and then 1 was a cover. And the theme was just kind of like, I don't know, historical rock music, or, it was a very vague genre or something like that. So we could kind of play whatever we wanted. We decided to do American Girl by Tom Petty. We were the only American band to play the festival. It was like mostly Italian, huge musicians, like big pop stars, some opera singers and stuff like that. And, everyone was kind of speaking in Italian. And we didn't really know what was going on. We just kind of showed up. We were pretty late because we had just done some press, and we were just being whizzed around like we were, pop stars or something like, or just came off of like, a 3-hour lunch. I don't really know. The lunches were always so long with the record label. That's one thing I remember the most. And we got there, and he pretty much just like went on stage and performed. It's like, oh, Young the Giant, the only American band. Before we went on stage, there was this long like monologue by this very passionate like Italian man, and he was just talking and talking, and we were so confused. He was like on a jumbotron to all these people. And at the time, Eric, our guitarist, was dating an Italian woman, and so we asked her, what's going on? We kind of to translate. She's like, oh well, we essentially just found out that the festival itself was just very strongly tinged with communist sentiments, and was kind of talking, about anti-America, anti-capitalism, fascist government. And this really long, passionate speech about politics for 5 or 10 minutes. And then we were ushered on stage. And now, the only American band to perform, a Young the Giant. And, we performed American Girl by Tom Petty. It's like the most American thing that you could do. And that was pretty awesome. So somehow we got out of there fine. No one pelted anything at us. Italy just loves the smooth melodies, man. And maybe
they like. That's incredible. 500,000 people. I wonder if there was any conversations just like, wait, never mind.
Never mind. This sounds good.
Yeah, that's a very good song. This sounds good.
Life's too short to even care at all. I'm losing my mind, losing my mind, losing control. These fishes in the sea, they're staring at me. A wet world aches for a beat of a drum.
And okay, so that was kind of one part of it. And as I said before, we were doing a lot of interviews, and it's really funny because we obviously hardly speak. I mean, I used to speak a little bit of Spanish, so I could pick up a little bit of Italian here and there, but being typical American, I always assumed that everyone can speak English, and so we go into some of these interviews, and very, very pop interviews. It was like only about this one song and how massive and great of a song it is, and it was really funny because, most of the Italian interviewers, they did speak English very well, but one thing we realized is that they could not pronounce cough very well. Cough was not what they could pronounce, and so it ended up being cock syrup for about a week. And so every interview, we do 3 or 4 interviews a day, some of them on TV, and people would always intro the song as cock syrup. And it was hilarious. I mean, it was, at the time we were 21 and just still trying not to completely bust out in the middle of a TV interview. And I remember one of the female interviewers, she was like, "So, how did you think of cock syrup?" And I remember Fran just saying, it just came naturally. It just came out naturally.
Oh, God.
And it was I think you've probably been sitting on that one for a while.
Did you? Yeah. So no juvenile, like, uncontrollable laughing, because I feel like I might not have the maturity level to be on TV. And when someone says cough syrup, especially for like the 10th time, it's like, oh God, here it comes.
No, I think some of the guys, like, especially because they'd, normally interview us after a performance or something like that. Some of the other guys, could hide behind and just kind of like snicker, to themselves. But, for me, like with a microphone like right in my face, it was very, very difficult. And I think that was pretty pro of me to not laugh.
Okay, let me ask you this, and you have to be honest. Did you ever say, well, cough syrup, did you ever repeat it back?
No. Okay. No, we didn't. Because, especially at that time, I think, we just wanted people to say it right. I think more than anything, I think it was just, and some people say that, like, oh yeah, cough syrup is like this, and I think, but we didn't. We should have, now looking back on it, we missed a golden opportunity there, I think.
You were having a good day, and now you're full of regret, thanks to me.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Damn it, Joe. Another quick thing about Italy before we were expecting that, the rest of these shows were going to be us performing live. But, we played this one show called Quale che il calcio in Milan, which is basically a football show, like a soccer show. They bring out like all the big Italian soccer stars from AC Milan, Juventus and stuff to come on and just talk about soccer. But at the end of the night, they have a music performance. And they told us only when we got there that, it would be dubbed essentially. So there would be a track and the band, would pretend to play, and I would sing karaoke, and I'm sure that you've maybe had to deal with this before.
I've done a little bit of that in England. I've done that with Float On a few times in England, specifically.
Yeah, it's kind of it's probably a weird position to be in, especially as a drummer.
Yeah.
You have like the fake cymbals.
You kind of feel like I'm animating like Animal from the Muppets. Like you kind of feel like when you're doing it, and then you watch it back and you're like, it just looks normal and kind of boring. But it's weird, the opposite effect of hitting something and not hitting something. It's embarrassing. It's not natural.
Well, at that time, we were young, and hell no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, of course.
And it became this whole thing, and we ended up having Francois and Jake switch positions. So Francois is our drummer, Jake is our guitarist, and Francois was playing guitar, and Jake was playing drums. And I think someone had almost been like expressly like, please do not do this.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think he would have done it if someone hadn't given us the idea to do it. So someone's like, please don't do this.
Yeah. Hey guys, no shenanigans.
Yeah. Like everyone's done this before, but not everyone, but a lot of people have done this. It's not like we're like brand new in doing this, but we were very, very like subtle about it. Like Jake and Fran wore their wardrobe up till we were going to go on stage. 5 minutes beforehand, they switched clothes.
Yeah.
So they were wearing each other's clothes, and they're two non-Italian white guys. Yeah. And so I don't think even anyone in the audience or like anyone who works on the show knew at all. And the only people who knew were our label people, and they figured out like at the very end of the song, you could see their faces like, oh my God. But they didn't even realize it till the very end. So it's just kind of like a really like funny little inside joke that we kind of remember every now and then because it was so not effective.
Right.
No one even really knew we did it. But.
Have you seen footage of, is there any footage of you guys doing that?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's
great.
A little weird to find, but you can find it. Like it's so not a thing that like it's just like any normal performance. Like you just search like Young the Giant, Quale che il calcio. I don't even know exactly how to spell it, but you just look at the show and like cough syrup, and you will find it. You'll see Jake, and it's pretty funny because Fran is like I think he kind of like freaked out when we were on stage, so he kind of like reined it in. Like he actually like he can play guitar, so he just like played the part. He figured out how to play the part. And he just kind of played the part. So he didn't really even know. But I remember Jake at one point during the bridge, like when there's literally no drums happening. I think it's just a kick or something. It's just like some very subtle floor tom stuff. He's just kind of like doing like crazy cymbal stuff, You know, there's one sweeping shot of him doing that. I think that's like the one moment where anyone who doesn't know who the band is would be like, wait, that's kind of weird.
You mentioned food, which most smart Americans remember, Italy's food.
Yes.
And the extensive promoter label radio station meals that you have that take like 90 hours. And do you have anything specific about a meal or?
Yes, I do. So, you know, most of the meals were fantastic, like really, really good. And, you know, it's funny how humans are. It's like most of the time, things that are really good, you don't quite always remember, as well as the things that are, you know, really bad. Yeah. I remember one particular meal, and they'd taken us out in Rome. It was like this neighborhood that was like the old Jewish part of Rome.
The Jewish ghetto, and for the artichokes.
Yes, the Jewish ghetto. Yes. Yeah. Well, the artichokes were good. I vaguely remember artichokes, because that was kind of like the sell. But then we went in there, and we had, at the time, we had this guitar tech who shall remain nameless, but he was like a very, very like evangelical vegan, like intense, you know, like spending most of his conversations at the dinner table, at least, trying to convince people not to eat meat, which in Italy is like blasphemous, you know, it's like, what do you
Of course, yeah.
And so we went to this you know, place in the Jewish ghetto, and they had fried baby lamb brain, and it looked like a baby brain. It just looked like a little baby lamb. Like they didn't do anything to make it seem like it wasn't. Just,
right. They didn't dress it up.
Yeah, you're just eating one lobe and you're eating the other lobe, and you could split the lobe with a friend. And I remember that like we were all like the band guys. We were all just around this guy, the guitar tech, and he obviously when they brought it out, he was so uncomfortable. And we were uncomfortable too. We didn't really want to. Yeah, we didn't really want to eat it, but then we were like, wait, this would be hilarious just to eat this in front of this guy. And so we all took a lobe, I guess a lobe, and we like just popped it in our mouth. And I mean, the look on his face was priceless, and probably look on our faces was priceless, because it was the grossest thing I've ever tried.
Yeah.
It was like the viscosity of like an oyster, but like tasted like chicken liver, but like way gamier. It was just like the weirdest, the worst thing that I think probably ever eaten. But I remember there was a rep at the time who was working for our label, and she loved this stuff. Like, and I remember had the hots for Francois. Like she really liked Fran, and she like, you know, sidles up by Fran and is like, this is a natural aphrodisiac. And it was like she just, you know, eating the lamb brain, and he's eating the lamb brain.
What a gorgeous picture.
Thanks, Sameer, and thank you for listening. Please go to ruinousmedia.com to hear more tour stories and more podcasts in the Ruinous Media Network. Please subscribe, comment, and tell all your friends about the Ruinous Media Network and all the things you're required to do as podcast listeners. Thank you.